It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how is it going? And welcome to the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. It is Wednesday, October 11th, and so happy for you joining us. We are ready to start another day together with the Lord. So subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So today we have an exciting podcast for you. We have Health is Happiness, Foundational Books Word Study, and of course commentaries, updates, and news on what is happening around the world in this history today. Woo! All right, everyone, how are you doing? Yes, it is Hump Day, the middle of the week, and hope you guys have had a good week thus far. If you haven't yet, go ahead, leave a like and comment below to build our community. Just super happy for everyone joining us every week down the Morning Star Drive. So let's get up, support each other each and every day. This week's Sunday message title, Be Born Again Anew in Body, Soul, and Spirit. All right, everyone, it's Hump Day. It's the middle of the week. Just happy to see everyone here today. Oh, I don't really see you guys, but I kind of see you guys. I don't even know how to say that. I see you spiritually when you're listening. Okay, that sounds kind of creepy too, like I'm like a spiritual stalker or something, but let's, whatever. Okay, I'm just happy to see everyone here, all right? So that's not, I don't know why I'm thinking too deeply about this. A lot of things to do and say each and every day. For me, I'm starting to feel a little bit more healthy again as I get my daily doses of veggies and fruits. Some people didn't even believe me when I said that I eat like this raw fruits every day. And, but a lot of you who are on my, my Instagram, right? When you're on my Instagram, you see my pictures of my veggie fruits like almost every day. So I think some people just got onto my Instagram and they're looking like, oh, so you're serious when you say raw veggies and fruits every day. I'm like, yeah, it's true. It's really true. Like people are like, oh, it's really true. So I found that to be quite funny. It's interesting because like I have my not persona. I don't even know how to say this. Like I have my this is Morning Star Drive. I'm kind of very open about my life. Like some people yesterday were asking me like, are you okay saying that that you're gonna meet ex-members and stuff? And I was like, yeah, I don't think anyone like I don't get any like calls from leaders. I don't get any calls from people or people comment saying, oh, how dare you meet like ex-members and such. But I definitely know it's a lot more cautious in Asian countries to be doing that openly. I'm just saying it openly because, why am I open about it? I can't really think about why I'm open about it, but I'm open about it. Why am I open about it? Yeah, I don't know. I guess for me, I feel comfortable here. And I don't feel like people out there are judging me. But if you are silently inside your heart, it's okay too. Yeah, you can judge me all you want. I'm fine with that also. But yeah, so it's like I have this Morning Star Drive. Like this is where I'm open and I talk about a lot of things going on in my life and things going on in Providence and stuff. And then for those of you guys like who are on my Instagram, that's like my personal account. Meaning I just post what I'm doing, right? Meeting with people, having coffee, doing this. Like I post everything kind of thing like that. So it's like you get to see my personal life in my Instagram. I'm not sure why I post my personal life, but I actually don't even have many pictures of myself. It's mainly pictures of what I eat and what I'm doing and sometimes pictures with the friends that I'm with. Also, last week, remember when I talked about my OCD nature of not, I hate having unchecked like text messages and emails and such, right? The funny thing was I had like 2 or 3 people screenshot their unchecked emails, right? They screened like 2 or 3 people. Like, I think it was 3 people. And they're like, they send me a text saying, how does this make you feel? And I was like one person sent me a screenshot. It had like 29,000 unchecked emails, right? And I was like, it's not a big deal. It's only for myself kind of thing, right? And but in my heart, I was like, isn't that really unhealthy to not have 29,000 unchecked emails? Like, what if there's an important email out of those ones, right? It feels like for myself, I'm not saying this about other people, just for myself, my personal feeling is it feels so unclean. It feels so messy, right? It's like, that's my mind kind of thing. And I know this is just my problem because I know others who have thousands of unchecked emails too. And that's why for me, when it's other people, I just let it go. right? Because for me, it's just like, that's their mental health problems that I don't want to deal with. These people probably need to repent or have tons of sins. So I'm just kidding. Oh gosh. No, I just wanted to make fun of those people sending me those blasphemous screenshots of their 29,000 emails that are unchecked. But yeah, it's been a good week. I am super thankful and grateful once again for those of you guys supporting on Patreon. I am super thankful, guys. Like crazy thankful, because it's one of the reasons why I can continue to do these podcasts 5 days a week. Like 5 days a week. It's like coming this March will be 4 years. 4 years of podcasts and never missing a single one. Would it be 4 years or 3 years? I started 2020. 2020, 21, 22, 23. Yeah, it'd be 4 years, guys. Tell me that's crazy. 4 years straight, never missing a single podcast. I think there was 2 times I was late because of some uploading problems, but I've never missed one. And just a reminder to all of you guys out there, if for some odd reason, remember, it's only happened twice in 3.5 years so far. If you guys don't see it on YouTube, for sure it'll be on SoundCloud, 100%, for sure, right? Because they don't have any copyright restrictions or any of those other things that YouTube has. So if in doubt, like, you should go check on SoundCloud, but there's like a 99.99% chance it's going to be up on time. 99.999999999%, whatever it is, right? Because it's only 2 out of like 930 times. What's my record then? What's my record? It's like 932 episodes divided by 2 divided by 932 equals 0.002% fail rate, or like not on time. They all came out, but 2 times it wasn't on time. So yeah, so you guys don't have to worry about it, but just in case of one of those in case of fire emergency polls, I would go to SoundCloud. Yeah, I would, right? And so yeah, so once again, super thankful for all of you guys who are inspired to support financially on YouTube, on Patreon. The link is in description below. And the one thing I'll say this for sure is that this is free. This is free. Like, even if even if there's no support, I'm still doing it. No one's paying for it or anything else like that. If there's any money that comes, it's from YouTube. And guess what? YouTube pays me. Let me just check right now. For my Morning Star Drive, I think my YouTube pays me like, right now it is $21.99 a month. It's $21.99 a month. So if you did not support, I would still be getting $21.99 just from the views itself. Yeah, that's what I would be getting, $21.99, right? But I'm thankful for those that are inspired, because no one, you don't have to do it, but those of you guys who are inspired to support, like what, $3 a month on Patreon, I am super thankful. It really helps me out a lot. Right, so go ahead, if you are inspired, go ahead and check it out on the links below. It'll be in the description below, and you'll find it. Right. Interesting discussions on the points I made yesterday about how to grow a nation, and I was talking about how you spread the workers thin, and they cannot do as much as like a group of 3 or 5 people that are working together as one, like a real system kind of thing, right? And like, if you guys haven't heard it yet, go check it out in the first section in Tuesday's podcast. But it's talking about whether to consolidate or to spread out the people who are running in this history. And there's someone who brought out a good point in the comments. So you can take a look at the comments below, right? A good point brought out was about, if it was really the best way to do it, wouldn't Sunseam make these decisions already? Or how come Sunseam hasn't talked about this or this type of methodology, right? And I would say, personally, from all my experiences in Providence and also from the principles that I've learned, I would say that to say that is not, all the responsibility does not fall upon Sunseam to make the decisions. Because if Sunseam had if Sunseam had 100% responsibility, then there'd be no point of reporting. right? It would just be like, oh, he knows what's going on. Boom, he talks to God, and here's the answer kind of thing, right? But it is dependent upon Sunsteam, but also the leadership that reports the situations to Sunsteam, right? So it's because it's a relational history. There's a relationship. It's Sunsteam and plus our responsibility to make sure we have the proper and best information and reports given to him without any bias or any tilt of what we think or what we want, right? Basically, is if we can report properly, we will get the best answer from God if we report properly, which means we're not just looking at one side, we're looking at both sides, right? We're trying to figure out what is the best thing that will allow our churches to grow without our own thoughts and our own thinking, right? And that's why this is a world of responsibility. And this is the biggest principle, that one of the principles we learn a lot is you get according to what you have done. If you report wrong, you get a wrong answer. If you report half, you get half an answer. Everything is dependent upon our responsibility towards God, and God will respond to our responsibility. That's the principle that's put in place. If people don't understand this one principle of getting according to what you've done, then people will start to misunderstand Sunsteam and think, well, he told us to do it like this, but why didn't it work? Hey, isn't it supposed to work out because Sunsteam prayed and got the answer from the heavens? You know what I mean? Like, that is something that I look at, is we can have major misunderstandings of Sunsteam if we look at it in the wrong way. Right? And that is something that I do think that we have to kind of remind ourselves is that, yeah, we do, our responsibility plays a big role in the history of God, right? Now, there's there's one thing I wanted to talk about today that I left out of yesterday's Provi in the media, and I thought it was a great, what do you call it? It was a great summary from an article that was written. And it was, what was it? Basically, remember I told you yesterday that the female, like there's a representative, like 70 female face stars were talking like how they were against how people were saying that, you know, that they were basically like sex slaves to Sunsteam and stuff like that too. Like they're saying that all these females, these face stars were there for that purpose and only that purpose kind of thing. And, you know, if I was a female face star too, thinking about that, yeah, you should be angry about that. If people are saying that that was your role when it completely is not. Right? So they actually wrote a summary of the Netflix and the things that were wrong, and some points of it that I didn't bring up in my original Netflix summary, right? These are things that I didn't know about, right? So I want to go over that so you guys have an even better idea. And they brought out like 3 or 4 different types of points, but they're also talking about the person accusing from Hong Kong, Maple, right? And what she said and what was wrong and why it's hard to trust what she says, right? So I'm going to just go over the facts that they brought up. And I thought it was quite interesting because I never thought about it. Well, we never had the information back then, right? But the information is now, you know, it's basically open to the public and it's written in articles on the internet and stuff, right? So they talk about Netflix's I Am God, right? And we know this is something from March 3rd. So this is kind of like way past its point, but I know that a lot of you out there might still be dealing with it. So, and some of you might have some thoughts in your head like, oh, I still don't get this point about it or why, which points were wrong or bad or whatever it is. But I will go over the things that they talked about that I thought were interesting because it's not what I talked about in my original Netflix summaries, right? Now, first, there was one of the first points they brought up was talking about this member who is the informant of I Am God. We're talking about the girl from Hong Kong, right? And this person was unable to accept the doctrine of providence, which emphasizes spiritual love, right? Which is more about faith, right? And because of that, they left. Actually, this one, I'm not sure if this one is from Hong Kong, but this is one of the people in it, right? And this person maliciously participated in the production of the program, so it's one of the two, along with forces that were, you know, along with the group that was slandering Providence, you know, for a long time. And what they said in this report is, in Providence, but not only in Providence, even in Christianity, there is we hold this doctrine as one of the highest, as Christianity calls it the golden rule. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. Right? And like I said, it's not just us. Even Christians believe in this verse as absolute, right? And we all believe, both us and Christianity, that it emphasizes spiritual love with God more than anything else, right? However, the plaintiff, one of the two, who appeared in the Netflix I Am God video, is a foreign member who had not been greatly influenced by Christianity or had a big spiritual background. And it seems like they didn't really understand the love of a spiritual relationship with God and accepted it as more of physical love, right? And in particular, with this one person who's one of the accusers in the video, she withdrew from Providence for various reasons, including having difficulty with the teachings of Providence that emphasize chastity before marriage. Right? So we're going to go a little bit deeper into that a little bit later when they go into a little bit more proof about it, right? And then also this person, this plaintiff from I Am God, she disparaged our belief in believing and loving only God and said that it was brainwashing by claiming that she had been brainwashed by the words of Providence and was unable to resist because she was incapable of resistance, right? And she said that people told her refusing physical sexual activity with Sunseem is disobeying God. So she had no choice but to follow because she was told that she would go to hell if she disobeyed, right? Which means, who is she talking about, right? Like, who said that to her too? Like, then we'll go over that a little bit more, right? And, the thing that's kind of weird for us is, I've been in Providence for 25 years now. And, we've all been taught the same thing for decades in our church. Like Providence talks about that spiritual love, love the Lord your God. It's not a physical love. I don't think any one of us have ever believed that as a physical love, right? And we've never heard this, like, if you don't have sexual activity with Sunseem, then that's going to be disobeying God kind of thing, right? We've never heard such a thing. Like, wouldn't there be a video or some type of evidence or footage? And some people might say, oh, it was done all behind the scenes, right? So even if it was done behind the scenes, let's say behind closed doors, well, the other thing that the accusers are saying is that there's 10,000 women. Now, if there's 10,000 women out there who are victimized, right, and we're told the same thing, we have to think to ourselves is there's 10,000 people that were told the exact same thing, but no one has ever talked about it, right? And if you think about it, who are the ones telling these girls that, oh, if you don't do this, you're going to go to hell? Well, the bigger issue we have is one of the people accused, which is KJS, is on trial with 5 other women. And these women, like 5 of them are saying, they've never said anything like that. Right? Wouldn't these 6 women be the ones saying such things to these women? But they're the ones saying they've never said anything like that. Even KJS said, I've never said such a thing to anyone, not even to this girl, right? So it's like, yeah, that kind of makes sense too, and it's more reasonable. But some of you might be thinking like, oh, Sky, are you just being biased? But I'm reading the article too. But are you just being biased? And let me just say this. Let me take it one step further with the documentation of the actual letters that this foreigner sent to Sunseem, right? So I'm not just saying we're like these people in the article, these fake stars who are bringing this up. They're not just saying it because they're bitter. Like, oh, how dare you say this about us? Because they also have evidence, right? That they have documented letters from this foreigner who accuses Sunseem, the plaintiff, who sent to Sunseem. And guess what it says in these letters? In the letters sent to Sunseem, she confessed her concerns about the difficulty of not being able to break off same-sex relationships and opposite-sex relationships, which conflict with the doctrine of providence. Obviously, right? We're about chastity and not having, everything is until marriage. And these are letters where she's talking about her concerns of not being able to break off same-sex and opposite-sex relationships. These are letters, documented, right? And even after Sunseem came out of prison, she changed her one-on-one love as a spiritual relationship with God to physical love with Sunseem, right? And one of the proofs that came out before is, look at the diary of this member, this foreigner. And she expresses regret in her diary that physical love with Sunseem did not come true. So that's in her actual diary. So it's kind of absurd to say, that you were sexually harmed while you were unable to resist when that's something that you regretted that didn't happen. So first thing you're saying is it never happened and you regret the physical thing never happened. But it also means you want it to happen. So you see that there was something, probably something wrong, either the way she was taught or the way that she understood it, right? So they brought up this person, like this information up too. And then another thing they brought up was the 2 female members who participated in a Chinese Taekwondo event were said to have been sexually tortured and sexually assaulted by Sunsim, right? However, what's not brought up in Netflix I Am God, one of the 2 confessed in court that there had been no sexual assault and that the other person, right? It's very interesting. Netflix, it doesn't talk about this one of the 2 girls saying that both her and the other girl had no sexual assault put against them or torture, whatever it is, right? But even in Netflix, it also says that they were found to have been sexually assaulted through hospital examination, which we all know is not true. The hospital examination was actually saying that they didn't have sexual assault against them, right? So, but in the broadcast, it was portrayed as fact and not. It was portrayed as fact and not something that was debunked, right? And this all happened in like 2006. There was like a Taekwondo demonstration event in China, and it was part of like a cultural exchange for Chinese missions. And the 2 female members who participated in the event reported to the Chinese public security that they had been sexually tortured and sexually assaulted by Sunsim. And in the end, basically what this person said in court was, they said, like, the person who confessed that it was all false. She said in court, "We planned how to talk about the sexual assault by referring to Exodus, which is the internet site that criticized the anti-providence site, and that's KDH, right?" And then she said in court, "We planned by colluding in Korea in advance, and it was a planned complaint aimed at making money." So she confessed this in court, like, hey, this is my guilty conscience. This is what actually happened. So, and the 2 female Taekwondo members are both Taekwondo masters, right? They're masters. They're all like 6 feet tall. And the claim that they had been sexually tortured, sexually assaulted by the president, who's in his 60s, very small stature. We know Sunsim, right, how big he is, right? It made no sense from the beginning. But in the end, during the legal witness interrogation process, one of the 2 members confessed to her conscience that she had not been sexually assaulted and revealed that the photos she submitted as evidence were fake, revealing the full story of the incident in court, right? And later she was put in jail for committing perjury, which is the right thing, right? Because she committed perjury, right? But she also did the right thing by confessing what was true. And then if you look even further, the case was investigated by the Anshan City Public Security Bureau in China in April 2006, right? And these 2 girls went to the Anshan City Central Hospital, and the hospital's results medically certified that not only was there no semen found in the persons, but there were no signs of being raped, right? But 20 years later, the incident was reenacted through Netflix's I Am God documentary in an attempt to frame Sunsim as a shameless sex offender, right? So when we look at that, it's like, yeah, these are things that people should be reminded of. No, like, yeah, if people ever come to you and talk to you about these types of things, very, very easy. We could say, yeah, this is true. This is true. We know this. We know this absolute fact already, right? And, like, here's Netflix claiming to be a documentary, but it's more of a mockumentary, right? It's not really, none of it's really true. It doesn't have actual facts, but it's kind of like a reenactment video, only taking one-sided claims and speculations of, like, KDH, right? And, like, if you think about it, even in the subtitles, there were false subtitles because things like, "This person is a victim," when they weren't. It's a speculation. None of it was proven, right? But they're putting it in there that they are literally a victim, but they weren't, right? So even in this documentary, the informant or the foreigner claimed that like the people who are next to Sunsim, the face stars and stuff, they were all women in their early 20s, and they are sexual partners of Sunsim. basically these female face stars, the 70 that spoke up, said basically she's insulting the human rights of all women in CGM, saying that, oh, we are all that, like that's what our job was. So because you could talk about the male members who were working side by side closely with Sun CM too, right? Developing Wonyeongdong, participating in sports, but females couldn't do that. So what were they doing? They were like reporters instead. Because the girls weren't doing the sports and doing all the maintenance of Wonyeongdong too, right? And many times males were reporting too, not just the females, right? So this is something where I looked at it as like, yeah, it makes a lot of this stuff when we look at it, a lot of it doesn't make sense, right? Give me 1 second, I gotta sneeze. Did you guys hear that? Excuse me. Excuse me for sneezing. It's getting a little bit cold here in Vancouver right now. Right? So you can kind of see that there's like this malicious intent for this Netflix's I Am God. And even like Netflix knew that there was a possibility of legal problems after it aired. Right? But the video was distributed with the focus only on let's just say economic benefits or what can be gained. Right? So if they really checked, if they super really checked it, it would never have come out, right? So, and when you look at all the common characteristics of the people who claim to be victims of sexual assault, in Netflix and stuff like that, none of them had any substantive evidence. There's no DNA, no pictures, no video, no audio, and the only audio that was there was from Maple. It's proved to be edited and manipulated. Which means that it's basically all one-sided claims. And this should make all of us feel a lot more comfortable just knowing some of the facts that are coming out, right? So I just wanted to bring that up because they did a very, very good job of pointing out these different types of things. And I looked at it as yeah, this is... the more and more you kind of stay and you see what's going on and all the different things that are happening, the more and more you realize oh, okay. So, we were so right in not jumping the gun. Yeah. No, there's no odds. We were very right in doing and waiting. I'm not saying that we were we were sitting there absolutely proven, but we had our faith. We know who Sun Sim is. We stood our ground and we waited and said, hey, you are the ones trying to prove to us, but there is absolutely no substantive proof. Most of it is hearsay, right? Most of it is hearsay. And we kind of sit there all right, so please prove your case. And then the trial starts, and then the more and more the trial begins, the more and more we get to see the real evidence that comes out, and the more confident and the more convicted we are, right? And I think a lot of us were actually convicted from the very beginning, all right, we've seen this before, let's just wait on it, move forward, right? And part of it was us being polite and nice to the people on the other side because it was more of hey, these are people we care about, and these are... people that we've known for especially for myself, people that I've known for a long time, and I'm not there to look at them and look down on them. It's yeah, this is my stance. And a lot of, I've been telling people some of these, what I went through, since last year, and I kind of did a rant about it yesterday, but at 2 points, I even said to my friends who were trying to tell me about all these things happening, I would just say straight up, I said this to my friend close to me, and I said, I'm so disappointed in you, right? Not of what you believe, but how you're going about it, calling people behind the scenes and trying to get them. I was I'm so disappointed. So because of this, not to ruin our friendship, we will never talk about this again, you and I. We will never bring this subject up, ever. Because it'll just lead to fighting. So I want to stay friends. So I told this person, one of my good friends, straight up. I said, I'm so disappointed. We are never talking about this subject again, and we've never talked about it since January, 0 times. I don't bring it up at all, and that's not. I was so disappointed and upset by the situation, what was unfolding in January. I just, even like another person who called me, who, person who called me about it, started talking about it. I stopped them in the middle of their conversation, like, hey, I want to digest this. So thank you so much for telling me. Very grateful. And I've never talked to them again. I just haven't. Right. So for me I think we have to, it's not so much about me I'm not disrespecting people. It's just a matter of people trying so hard to try to convince me with something that is not absolute, that is not clear, right? And completely against what I believe, right? So I think for us too, we have to, a lot of us have those beliefs. The only problem is sometimes it's hard to express it because we don't have any evidence or proof. But the reason why I bring this stuff up on this podcast is so that the next time they talk about it, you're like, hey, I already know about this and I know about this. So can you disprove that, right? Can you disprove all the letters we have like documented that she wrote to Sunseem of how much she's struggling with same sex and opposite sex? Can you really go against those things that are absolutely documented? Like she was already struggling with these types of things, right? Can you, it was already in court, her diary about how she was so disappointed that she couldn't have a physical relationship with Sunstein kind of thing. Like that doesn't sound like someone who is forced to do something. It seems like that's something she wanted, right? So all of these things, we really, really have to break it down and say, okay, so these are some of the facts that have come out, right? We're not going to say bad things about people. These are just the facts that have come out. And when people ask, hey, this is why you should sign our petition. The petitions are going out now, guys. So make sure you sign them. This is why we signed the petition. This is why we're doing this. This is why we signed this. All right. So this is why I'm telling you guys right now that I signed this petition and I did it like this. And if you have friends or family and you want to talk to, like someone was asking me about, should I put it on my social media? And I thought to myself could I be able to explain it properly through social media? And I was like, maybe I'd have to make a complete video about it more than anything else, right? But definitely it's something I'd want to talk to people, something so serious, and say, hey, look, this is a situation. This is how wrong it is. And this is why I want to tell you guys that we're doing a petition for this. And we want the world to know that, this is so unfair. This is like the injustice is so big, right? And I think this is why all of you out there, if you guys got that link to the petition, go ahead, make sure you sign up for that petition too. We need 200,000 signatures, and I think we can get at least half of it by the first week. I think we can, right? It's just when it comes to especially just members themselves, right? But I think we do even more than that, as long as we explain well to people about this too. All right. So, that's kind of one of the things I did want to go over. Sometimes it's easy for us to forget all the things that are happening around us, but I really hope right now that we'll be able to understand, be able to be even more guarded and have all the information that we need to, right? Just a quick thing, today's foundational books word study, we're going to go over a book called The Pilgrims' Progress, right? And this is another big book that I do hope that a lot of you guys will enjoy, and it's written in an allegory. It's a story, right? So you guys will really enjoy this one. And of course, Health is Happiness today for the last segment is episode 51, which means they're coming up to 1 year. It's going to be Yen Yu from Singapore, and she'll be doing talking about soft tissue injury, and that sounds like something in my area. Soft tissue injury, I have a lot of that. All right, so let's move on, guys. Let's go into the first break of the day. right, so let's get into our word study for today. And every Wednesday we have we usually have like, what do we usually do? We usually have, I completely forgot. I've been doing like the foundational books word study for a while now, but before that, I completely forgot what I was doing. Practical word study was on Tuesday. Wednesday was, oh yeah, it was like Bible characters and like, you know, like things about the Bible, how did the Bible come to be, like a little bit more of those types of things. But I've been doing foundational books for the last couple of weeks now, actually for like maybe 2 months now. So it's been quite interesting. Today I'm going to go over a very interesting book called The Pilgrims' Progress. Okay, very, very interesting book written in the 1600s. It was published in the 1600s by someone named John Bunyan, right? And this was actually published in 2 parts. So the first part was published in 1678, and then the second part was published in 1684, like 6 years later, right? And it's a very, very interesting book, but who is the author? His name is John Bunyan, right? Who was not just an author, he was also a preacher. And he lived from like 1628 to 1688. And he served the British military before marrying a woman named Elizabeth. And he also converted to Christianity and became a nonconformist preacher. He was arrested and imprisoned in the Bedford Gaol for 12 years because of the Conventicle Act, which stated that attending a religious service held outside the church with more than 5 people who weren't one's family members was illegal. What a crazy rule, right? But he was in prison for 12 years, and he wrote The Pilgrims' Progress. And he was freed in 1672, and he became ill and died in 1688 after a visit to London. All right. So very, very interesting book. Let's get into this, what type of book this is, right? This is The Pilgrims' Progress from the 17th century. Okay. So basically this story, it's a story. It's like an allegory, but it's framed as a dream. And he explains that he fell asleep in the wilderness and dreamed of a man named Christian who was tormented by spiritual anguish. So a spiritual guide named Evangelist visits Christian and urges him to leave the city of destruction. Evangelist claims that salvation can only be found in the celestial city known as Mount Zion, right? So very, very interesting. Like the main character is Christian. His name is Christian. And then his spiritual guide, the name is Evangelist. And of course, the city of destruction, celestial city, Mount Zion. These are all like biblical references too, right? So let's kind of get into this story, right? Of a dream that this guy had, right? So Christian begs his family to accompany him on his journey, but was unsuccessful. And on his way, Christian falls into a bog called the Slough of Despond, but then he's saved. He meets Worldly Wiseman, okay? And Worldly Wiseman is a name who urges him to lead a practical, happy existence without religion. Refusing, Christian is sheltered in Goodwill's house, a guy named Goodwill. Goodwill tells Christian to stop by the interpreter's home, where Christian learns many lessons about faith. Now, walking along the wall of salvation, Christian sees Christ's tomb and cross. And at this vision, his burden falls to the ground. And one of the 3 shining ones, who are like celestial creatures, hands him a rolled certificate for entry to the celestial city. Christian falls asleep, loses his certificate, and since a certificate is his ticket into the celestial city, Christian reproaches himself for losing it, and after retracing his tracks, he eventually finds the certificate. Now, walking on, Christian meets the 4 mistresses of the Palace Beautiful, who provide him shelter. They feed him, they arm him. And after descending the Valley of Humiliation, Christian meets the monster Apollyon, who tries to kill him. Christian obviously is armed, and he strikes Apollyon with a sword and then proceeds through the desert-like valley of the shadow of death towards the celestial city. Now, Christian meets someone named Faithful, who is a traveler from his hometown. Now, Faithful and Christian are joined by a 3rd pilgrim named Talkative, whom Christian spurns. Now, Evangelist arrives and warns Faithful and Christian about the wicked town of Vanity, which they will soon enter. Evangelist foretells that either Christian or Faithful will die in the town of Vanity. So the 2 enter Vanity and visit its famous fair. They resist temptation and are mocked by the townspeople. Eventually, the citizens of Vanity imprison Christian and Faithful for mocking their local religion. Now, Faithful defends himself at his trial and is executed, rising to heaven after death. Now, Christian is remanded to prison but later escapes and continues his journey. Now, there's another fellow pilgrim. His name is Hopeful, and he befriends Christian on his way. And on their journey, a pilgrim who uses religion as a means to get ahead in the world, this person's name is By-Ends, crosses their path. Christian rejects his company. The two enter the plane of ease, where a smooth talker named Demas tempts them with silver, but Christian and Hopeful pass him by. Now, taking shelter for the night on the grounds of a place called Doubting Castle, they awake to the threats of the castle's owner, and the castle's owner is Giant Despair, who, with the encouragement of his wife, imprison and torture them. Christian and Hopeful escape when they remember they possess a key of promise, which unlocks any door in Despair's domain. Now, proceeding onward, Christian and Hopeful approach the Delectable Mountains near the Celestial City. They encounter wise shepherds who warn them of the treacherous mountains, and the mountains are called Error and Caution, where previous pilgrims have died. The shepherds point out travelers who wander among tombs nearby, having been blinded by the Giant Despair, and they warn the travelers to beware of shortcuts, which may be paths to hell. Now, the two pilgrims meet someone named Ignorance, a sprightly teenager who believes that living a good life is sufficient to prove one's religious faith. Christian refutes him, and Ignorance decides to avoid their company. The travelers also meet someone named Flatterer, who snares them in a net. And then another person named Atheist, who denies that the Celestial City actually exists. So, crossing the sleep-inducing enchanted ground, they try to stay awake by discussing Hopeful's sinful past and religious doctrine. Now, Christian and Hopeful gleefully approach the land of Bula, where the Celestial City is located. The landscape teems with flowers and fruit, and the travelers are refreshed. Now, to reach the gate into the city, they must first cross a river without a bridge. Christian nearly drowns, but Hopeful reminds him of Christ's love, and Christian emerges safely from the water. The residents of the Celestial City joyously welcome the two pilgrims, and in his conclusion to part 1 of the book, the narrator expresses hope that his dream be interpreted properly. Now, in the introduction to part 2, the second book, Bunyan addresses the book as Christiana, which is the name of Christian's wife. Right, so remember, Christian's in the story. The main person in the story, his wife's name is Christiana. And this part of the Pilgrim's Progress tells the story of Christiana and her children's journey to the Celestial City. So the narrator recounts having met an old man named Sagacity, who tells the beginning of Christiana's story. And she decides to pack up and follow Christian to the Celestial City, taking her 4 sons and a fellow townswoman named Mercy along as a servant. Now, on the way, they cross the Slough of Despond, but are blocked at the gate by an angry dog. The gatekeeper lets them through. Continuing on, the sons steal fruit from the devil's garden, and 2 ruffians threaten to rape the woman, but they escape. Now, the pilgrims are lodged in the interpreter's house. The interpreter orders his manservant, Greatheart, to accompany them to the House Beautiful. Now, Mr. Brisk pays court to Mercy, but soon stops courting her because of her involvement in charity work. And as a result of eating the devil's fruit, one of the sons falls ill but is cured by Dr. Skill. So the pilgrims descend into the Valley of Humiliation and cross the Valley of the Shadow of Death. They encounter the giant named Maul and slay him. After meeting the old pilgrim Honest, they take shelter with Gaius. Okay, so the pilgrims continue on their journey and kill the giant Goodslay, then rescue the pilgrims Feeble Mind and Ready to Halt. Those are the 2 names, okay? They lodge with Mason, a person named Mason. They cross the River of Life. They kill the giant Despair, so that's the name, is Giant Despair, and greet the kind shepherds who welcome them into the Delectable Mountains. Now, Christiana meets the great fighter, Valiant, the fighter's name is Valiant for Truth, who accompanies them. They cross the enchanted ground, meet the pilgrim Standfast, who has just spurned Madame Bubble, a beautiful temptress, and the pilgrims are welcomed to the celestial city. Christiana goes to meet her maker, the master, and then the other pilgrims soon follow. Right? So this is kind of like what you call like the Spark Notes, right? Or the Cliff Notes, whatever generation, or, the Pilgrim's Progress for idiots kind of thing, right? Very, very interesting. But this book is very famous because it's kind of like a religious allegory, right? And like I said, published in 2 parts, and the work is very like a symbolic vision of the good man's pilgrimage through life, right? And at one time in history, this book was only second to the Bible in popularity, right? The Pilgrim's Progress is still the most famous Christian allegory that's still in print. And it was first published in the reign of Charles II and was largely written while its Puritan author, which is John Bunyan, was imprisoned for offenses against the Conventicle Act, which we already talked about before, right? So a very, very interesting book. If you're into more of these stories and allegories and going into the deeper meanings of it, I would suggest you go into that, right? So it's a good book, foundational book of Christianity. I hope you guys will really, really enjoy that too. All right. So there it is, guys. That is the Foundational Books word study. Hope you guys really enjoy that. Another book that you guys can pick up and read, or go online and read and listen to the audiobook or something like that too. But I hope you guys will enjoy that section too. All right. So that means we're going to move into the second segment of the day.
Please don't let me down, Lord. I know I can trust you with all my heart. So I'm on my knees, praying for you to always come through. Even if I pray all night, all I want is for your will be done. So I'm on my knees, praying for you to always come through. No, I'm not slipping through. No, I'm not falling down. The only thing that's falling is my knees on the floor. I'm praying, Lord, will you give me strength? Lord, will you give me power? I can't do this myself, so bless me in the morning hours. All the demons test me, but they will never shake me. If I pray, they hate me. If I pray, you love me. Connected with you is the only thing that matters. And honestly, I couldn't be happier while I'm praying on my knees. I trust you with all my heart. For you always come through. For myself, for my family, for myself alone I pray. Please don't let me down, Lord. I know I can trust you with all my heart. So I'm on my knees, praying for you to always come through. Even if I pray all night, all I want is for your will be done. So I'm on my knees, praying for you to always come through.
I pray to never just settle for good when great is available. Who's the mastermind behind this mind? I give all the credit to God, that's why I'm back. They mad that I made it, I know that the Satans, they hate it. I keep working hard just to make progress. Now I'm on 10, trust the process, ayy. Look at my efforts lately, I'm setting conditions daily. I'm praying on my knees, so bless me. Please bless me, please bless me. Tribulations always come and go, I will never stop, just always know. Your focus determines reality, stay solid, that's why
I'm praying on my knees, I trust you with all my heart. For you to always come through. For myself, for my family, on myself alone I pray. Please don't let me down, Lord. I know I can trust you with all my heart. So I'm on my knees, praying for you to always come through. Even if I pray all night, all I want is for your will be done. So I'm on my knees, praying for you to always come through.
SB,
All right, so let's get into our final segment for today. And of course, we have every Wednesday, Health is Happiness, and another brand new episode by Yin Yu over there in Singapore. I hope you guys are really, really enjoying these segments too. Today, she's going to talk about soft tissue injury, and this is something that I think I have a lot, but I don't really know a lot about it, so I'm looking forward to this episode just as much as you guys. So everyone, all the way from Singapore, please welcome Yin Yu with Health is Happiness.
Hello everyone, my name is Yuan Yu and I'm from Singapore. I'm currently in my final year of physiotherapy. On today's topic of Health is Happiness, I will be talking more about soft tissue injury. I'd like to give thanks to the Holy Trinity for this opportunity, as well as Julius and Pastor Sky for this platform. As a disclaimer, this is general health advice. If you do have a soft tissue injury, especially a major one, it is best if you can seek medical attention. Firstly, what are soft tissue injuries? Soft tissues include things like ligaments, muscles, and tendons. And common soft tissue injuries include ankle sprains, muscle strains, Achilles tendinopathy. This doesn't refer to the facial tissue you buy at a supermarket, but these are soft tissues in our bodies that help stabilize our various joints, such as our ankles, our knees, etc. Due to trauma or an accident, or perhaps you carried something too quickly, too fast, these can cause soft tissue injuries, which refer to micro tears in those various structures. What happens when a soft tissue injury occurs? There is an immediate inflammatory response that presents as pain, redness, and swelling, as well as reduced function. Using an ankle sprain as an example, you will get pain, redness, swelling, and you won't be able to move your ankle that well. This inflammation process is, however, an essential process that initiates tissue repair, and in this process, there might be excessive bleeding and swelling, which can be very painful, and I'll explain more on how to cope with it later on. Moving on to the how. Traditionally, treatment is guided by a commonly known acronym, RICE. Rest, ice, compression, and elevation. However, in recent years, a new acronym, Peace and Love, provides more information on soft tissue healing by giving information on the acute and chronic stages, meaning right after the injury to weeks and months post-injury. For this acronym, P stands for protection. In the short term, meaning 24 hours to 2 days, it is better to reduce movement and to rest more. This reduces the risk of bleeding and aggravating the injury. While rest is important, prolonged rest can compromise tissue recovery. Therefore, we want to gradually use back the ankle to walk again, for instance, as much as we can tolerate the pain. So, how much pain is tolerable, or how much pain can we allow? Interestingly, for our bodies, pain is a way that our body protects itself. Therefore, when an area is injured, the body will send signals to tell you that, hey, this area is injured, therefore it is painful. Don't put so much weight on it, don't use it so much. And when the pain gradually subsides, the body then reduces the amount of pain that you feel from the area, and this is like the body telling you that, hey, it is safe to move this part, it is safe to use the ankle, for instance. While the short term can refer to 24 hours to 2 days, if the injury is very severe, it may even require a week or more. Therefore, it is good to seek medical advice when you especially have more serious injuries. But if the injury is more superficial, then you might need even less than 24 hours of relative rest. How do you know how much pain is acceptable? You can use this traffic light analogy whereby on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 is not painful, 10 is very painful. If let's say the pain level is 0 to 3, then that is considered mild pain and it's safe to move. If the pain increases to 4 to 6 out of 10, then there is moderate amount of pain. It's like a orange light on the traffic light, and it's a sign for you to reduce the amount of movement or reduce the activity that you're doing. Then if the pain goes to 7 to 10 out of 10, that is like a red light. It's better for you to stop and to take a rest first before continuing the activity. Then if the pain is going back to 0 to 3, it's like a green light and it's safe to move. Moving on to E. E stands for elevation. Elevating the injured part higher than our heart can reduce swelling. It might be difficult to always do this, therefore at least elevating to your hip level, such as when you're sitting down, you can elevate your leg if you had an ankle sprain. If you're sleeping and you're lying down, then you can elevate your ankle on a pillow so that it's higher than the rest of the body. Yep. Then moving on to A is avoiding anti-inflammatory medication or icing. So avoiding these things are because anti-inflammatory medication and icing can hinder the inflammatory process, which is essentially helping in the healing. But while the inflammatory process is for the healing, it can also be quite a painful one due to the swelling that comes with it. Hence, if you're in a painful state, the pain is a level 4 and above, then you can ice it in the short term. But once the pain reduces and it gets better, then there isn't a need to ice it. If you do want to ice it, don't place ice directly on your skin, but use a barrier like a towel to protect yourself from ice burns. Generally, you can ice about 15 minutes and take a break and repeat this cycle as many times as needed. C. Compression. Compression is a useful way to reduce swelling. This can be done in the form of a bandage, a ankle guard for instance, or tape. Ensure that if you were to get one, that it fits well and is not too tight. E. Education. Education is important because if we know, then we know how to do it properly. Recent research has shown that active recovery is much better than passive recovery. Passive recovery approach includes things like complete rest, electrotherapy, manual therapy, acupuncture. And if we do all of this only, then it has limited benefits. Whereas if you do active approach, which refers to, yes, having that relative rest, but then gradually using that limb, gradually moving the ankle again, this is more superior. After peace comes love, which means that after the first few days have passed, soft tissues need love, and I'll explain the acronym. L refers to load, gradually using the limb more as soon as you can tolerate. There was this experiment that the group did early loading post-injury versus another group which rested a lot and delayed loading. The group who did early loading had much more benefits in strength and function. How do you know how much and when you can load? You can use the traffic light analogy 0 to 10 and look at how painful it is for you. By loading the ankle, in this instance, gradually, earlier on, then the ligaments or the muscles or the tendons that were injured in the area learn how to adapt and get stronger in order to support your body. And if it's going back to the traffic light analogy, around a 0 to 3 out of 10 on a pain score, it is safe to load it. And remember that for all of these loading, do it in a gradual manner. O. Optimism. As much as we take care of the physical aspect as shared, the mental aspect is as important. Our brain plays a significant part in recovery because by being optimistic, it helps you to recover faster. If you do find yourself feeling fearful, anxious, depressed, or catastrophizing the injury, meaning thinking that the injury is worse than it actually is, research has shown that it will delay recovery. Definitely, while being optimistic is also to stay realistic on the general recovery time. V, vascularization. So as much as we, for instance, resume walking, strengthening the area, it's also good to do some aerobic activity. This will help improve the blood circulation, which helps improve recovery. So for instance, besides walking, you can jog, you can cycle, you can swim, and do all of these as tolerated. Lastly, E, exercise. Once the pain gets more manageable or it goes to minimal pain, then do some exercise to regain your strength. And with regards to what exercises you can refer to the previous podcast episode on strengthening, or you can search up exercises for X area that you injured. Okay, besides the peace and love acronym, I'll also touch a bit on prevention. But the best case scenario is to prevent the injury, right? So what are some ways that we can prevent the injury? There are 3 ways I'll share today. First is to do regular exercise. Yes, that is the hard truth, because if we are strong on a regular basis and we do our strength, then we wouldn't be that susceptible to injury. Secondly is to be careful. Don't do dangerous things unnecessarily. Just like in the sermon on being careful on your own, let's exercise safety, whether is it for physical, mental, or spiritual health. Thirdly, do exercise, but in a progressive manner. While we are diligent in our exercise, let's not be too overzealous or over-enthusiastic, but progress the exercise gradually so that our body has time to adapt to it and not be too overloaded in the short term. And with that, we've come to the end of this episode. If you have any questions, feel free to sound it out in the comment section and I'll do my best to answer them. Wishing everyone the best as we continue taking care of ourselves physically, mentally, and spiritually in this history. Thank you for listening and goodbye.
And thank you so much, Inyu, for another wonderful episode, Health is Happiness. That is episode 51, which means we're 1 episode away from 1 year of Health is Happiness. Super thankful and grateful for all the hard work from Julius, from Yenyu, from all the doctors, Dr. Zinni, Dr. Abe. You guys have been doing such an amazing job, and I know it's super busy. You guys are all professionals, and I hope you guys can continue somewhere in the future to make more and more episodes. Also, we are thankful and grateful for all the professional advice. All right? So there it is, guys. That is today's Wednesday's podcast. I hope you guys super enjoyed it, just as I have. Have an amazing and awesome service tonight, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and feel your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know. I'm burning with desire and the passion.